Okay, so we'll wait a few minutes, not a few minutes, but a minute to let people come in.
Great. So welcome everyone that's joining us. Get comfortable. You can consider this a bit of a personal retreat time. We're talking about burnout and how to bust burnout. So what better intention to get in the zone than to just give yourself a little bit of rest right now before we dive in.
A minute is a long time online.
It sure is. I was working with a group earlier today around communication and feedback, and we were saying that even holding 6 seconds can feel like an eternity. So a minute is a lot of spaciousness.
Okay, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Burned Out Team, How to Create More Employee Engagement. I'm Lauren Walker, Senior Staff Writer at GovLoop. I hope you all enjoyed the awards ceremony and lunch keynotes. I had the privilege of interviewing some of the award winners, and it was a real joy to hear their commitment to public service. I hope you were as inspired as I was. Now we're going to talk about one of the less joyful aspects of public service, burnout, and how to restore your team's engagement. This year has been another hard one, following on two that seemed to turn the world upside down. But you still have your mission and objectives to meet. So how do you support employee engagement in an environment where burnout seems inevitable? Today we will hear from a government innovator about how to reverse the effects of burnout and increase employee engagement and morale. First, though, we have a few things to go over. If you were here for the earlier sessions, you probably can guess what they are, but let's go through them just in case. Some housekeeping items. If you're on Twitter, we'd love to know what you're learning. Use the hashtag NextGenGov to share your takeaways. We also have some great additional resources available for you to download on the right-hand side of your console. That includes this slide deck with all the great info you'll see soon. Check them out. If you want to access the closed captioning feature, just look for the icon at the bottom right-hand side of the media player. Also, we hope you don't have any technical difficulties, but if you do, send us a message to the Q&A tab, and my colleague Blake will get your questions answered. In that same Q&A portal, you can ask our expert questions. Drop them in whenever, and we'll get to them in the second half of our time together today. We also have an open chat available to you, so don't be shy. We want to hear from you. To access the open chat, click on the blue group chat button in the middle panel of your screen. We can interact with other attendees there. If you miss a few tidbits, don't worry. We'll email you a link to the entire event tomorrow. That'll be sent directly to your inbox. Finally, we are giving out 1 CPE credit for your participation in today's session. There are 3 things you need to do. First, be sure to take all the polls. The questions will show in the slide window. Just click submit to send in your answer. We've had a few technical difficulties with the polling today, so if you miss your chance to submit an answer, you can email it to us at nextgen@govloop.com, and you'll still get credit on your CPE. Second, you need to participate in the entire session. And third, fill out the post-event CPE evaluation to get your CPE credit. You'll find the CPE evaluation in the resource module on the console or at the resource center in the main environment. All CPEs will be mailed directly to you once we confirm that you've met all the requirements. Today's speaker, we're happy to have with us, is Frida Edgett. Frida is an award-winning civic leadership coach and strategist. Over her career, Frida has facilitated more than 200 change initiatives on 5 continents. and helped more than 2,000 emerging to veteran executives powerfully lead through unpredictable environments. Without further ado, Frida, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you to everyone, and Blake and everyone on the NextGen team. I've been playing with NextGen I was trying to calculate the other day, definitely more than 7 years, and was having some nostalgic moments because my very first exchange with NextGen was on wellness in the workplace, and that was far before anyone was talking about well-being in the workplace or mental health or burnout in a mainstream way. So kudos to them, and kudos to all of you for joining this really important session. So again, my name is Frida Ajette. I'm with the Office of Personnel Management. There is a mighty part of that arm that is full of coaches and organizational designers and facilitators that, like a tiger team, works across OPM as well as across the federal workforce to transform every federal employee into a national leader. So it's great to be here today. So I just want to make a note about the polls. There are a number of polls peppered throughout, and the intention, especially since we're talking about engagement and we can't all come on camera and come on mic like I would love to do if we were in person. They're pretty substantive, so I wanted to name that on the front end. If you are having problems with the polls, if there's been tech snafus that we know about and you need to follow up, just get on, be general in terms of the essence of what you capture within it in your reflections, and I would leave it at that. So just a heads up as we move forward. So today we're talking about burnout. And if we think about burnout as something has been extinguished, right? It's depleted, it is not there. The anecdote, the solution that we're going to play with, especially metaphorically today, is igniting, right? How do we ignite and rekindle well-being, motivation, morale within ourselves as well as those that we lead? And the answer is through engagement. And we're going to talk about specific forms of engagement kind of theoretically and importantly, very tactically that you can apply back with yourself and your team. So let's go. So I'm curious, who here has felt a little bit like this from time to time? It may be this morning, maybe last week, maybe on a regular basis, maybe every now and again. And, many of us have experienced staying up really late, compulsively checking our emails, our text messages, almost habitually. And even though with this, almost like this fervent drive, even though we were not thriving. And I know this, I have lived this time and time again. And that actually is why I'm here talking about burnout and well-being with you all today. I started my career doing public health policy across the country and internationally, and I was thriving, operating on all cylinders, high performing, deeply passionate and energetic. So on the outside, I was very successful, but on the inside, I was actually dying. I was struggling with a 15-year eating disorder that was ruling me and controlling me and keeping me from being authentic and whole. And it was by a miracle I was slated to go on sabbatical from my job, moved to London to earn my master's in organizational and social psychology, and really had a time and space to let go of the behaviors and to think about really what motivated me and what it is that I needed to be my best self. So I came back to America, and I spent a lot of time in Hyde Park being like, what's my motivation? And I came back to the United States and I got deep into the data. I was really curious about how can we influence and shape a new kind of leadership that is a springboard on well-being, where it's not about compromising, it's about thriving. So I got into neuroscience, behavioral science, organizational and social psychology, authentic leadership, communications theory, elite athletics, and very important, wellness, and started developing and looking for these micro strategies, what's called microdosing nowadays in the world today about habit formation, of how could we apply this anywhere at any time for those that need it most. And it was very clear, not everyone suffers from an eating disorder, but many of us, especially now, have something that gets in our way of being our most vibrant selves. Some of these things are internal, right? Like the stories that we tell ourselves, the habits that are no longer serving us, like restricting food or purging, quite honestly, right? And some of them are external that we can't control. The budget cycle, the media narrative, the weather, all these things. And so it's about focusing on our attention on what we can do within our sphere of influence, and then creating, using a variety of tools that we'll talk about today to start generating that energy again. So our objectives today are threefold. To really understand burnout's core contributors. I always say you name it so you can tame it. If we know what we're working with, then it's not amorphous and ambiguous and scary, and we can address it head on and take some measurable action forward. Gain some mindsets, how we're thinking about it, our inner work, right? And strategies to ignite that energy I mentioned earlier, and then to commit to specific actions. So the cadence of today is going to be, I'm going to introduce one of the three core components of burnout and their anecdotes, offer some insights. We'll have a poll to have you anchor in where you are now, and then we'll do some in-the-moment action planning around things that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, ethical, and inclusive of how to move forward, both for yourself as well as for your team. So how does that sound? So first, let's anchor in burnout. These questions are taken from the Mayo Clinic's Wellness Index. There's 10 questions. I'll read them out loud, or I'll sportscast them so everyone has an ability to read them or hear them, whatever best suits you. And these all map to the core components of burnout that we'll anchor in just a moment. Are you becoming, or are you cynical, or cynical at work specifically? Are you feeling your energy kind of dragging? Is there a malaise? Are you having trouble once you start to just get started, once you arrive? How about irritability and impatience with other people? You're like, oh my God, I can't handle it anymore. Just get to the point. Or, oh, they always do that. Or this feeling of dread. How about your energy? Are you having a hard time even getting energetic, starting a project, sustaining a project, restarting, all of those things? And then how about concentration? How about satisfaction? I'm a high achieve for StrengthsFinder, and there's nothing worse when I've been in a state of burnout where something that used to make me feel so alive, like checking things off a list, it was like numb. How about disillusionment? Nothing can get better. That's kind of like cynicism, or just a lack of, it's very hard to pinpoint the reality of what is. Are you using food or shopping, alcohol, drugs, gambling, right? There's a whole slew of different types of maladaptive behaviors to feel better, or just numb out, not feel at all. That's what my eating disorder was for me. And then your sleep. Are there changes to your habits? Are you not getting any sleep because you're up worrying, ruminating, or all you can do is sleep? Maybe you're in a more depressed state. And then how about the physical components? Headaches, stomach aches, bowel movements, etc. GI issues is like huge. So that brings us to our poll. With these questions in mind, let's do a self-assessment. And granted, these are overly simplistic, binary, right? Yes or no. So where do you gauge yourself today? Are you burned out? So a poll is being launched, and we'll keep it open for a bit to give people a moment to experience. And I see some folks in chat acknowledging it. Yeah, I've experienced burnout many times. So a few more moments to allow people to engage and participate. Are you burned out? Okay, I'll give it 3, 2, 1 for any final respondents. And if we can close the poll, wowza. You know, there was some dancing around the edges. I was watching on the back end as more people were offering their insight and their lived experience into the poll. And it was dancing around 75% pretty consistently. That is very notable. And for those of you that are experiencing burnout right now, you are not alone. We're with you. And community and being amongst others that are in a similar space is actually one of the anecdotes of getting out of it. So thank you. I'm so happy that you're here. You're in the right place. You're in the right place. So there's actually a technical definition of burnout. And newsflash, the World Health Organization actually lists burnout as a leading public health concern, a leading workplace health concern internationally. It is up there, and it will only increase. That is the warning that the WHO has said. So it is not only the medical community, it is the public health and the global public health community as well. So what's the definition? It's always good to anchor in a definition, yeah? So it's a form of of job-related stress, and that it has not, we're like, I can't manage this. Things are becoming unmanageable. Almost, we feel powerless, maybe hopelessness. Anyone felt hopeless, powerless? And so the symptoms map in these three areas. Energy depletion, right? So the questions about drive, around sleep, around the physical pieces are around your energy depletion. You are low energy, you just can't. And maybe you know what I'm talking about. You're like, I just can't. There's even getting out of bed or getting ready for the COVID mullet, which I just learned about that term like last month. How did that only just happen 3 years into this thing? That's when you're like fancy on the top and you have like your bunny slippers on the bottom, right? And that's even hard. Cynicism, right? Like it doesn't make a difference. Why do this? It's just going to get shot down anyway. I'm just a cog, or whatever the feeling is, or they always say that, right? There's a lot of different ways that can show up. And then also reduce professional efficacy, right? It's hard to complete tasks. Maybe you feel stuck. There's no room for growth. You feel undervalued, all the like, all contributes to burnout. So so I just want to say grace for us all, right? Grace for you. And here's how it maps when we think about it in the framework of being a supervisor. It means there's a lack of well-being, a lack of meaning, right? Purpose, drive, and then psychological safety, which is where we feel safe to take risks, to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, to be fully ourselves, and that we will be accepted and included without bias. So the solution, again, is to ignite. So before we get into the tactics of these three pieces, well-being, meaning, and psychological safety, everyone just take a moment and close your eyes and connect with the inhale and exhale of your breath for just a moment. Breathing in and feeling that air go through your nose, down through your esophagus into your stomach, and exhaling out, perhaps through your mouth. And again, breathing in deeply, feeling that warmth of your own breath. And out. And on your next inhale, just think of a time where you did feel fully energized at work. And ask yourself, when was that? Where was I? Who was I with? What was I doing? And what contributed to me feeling so energized? Was it my team? Was it the mission and the impact that I was able to create? Was I new at the job? Was I in a position of power? Did I have a flexible schedule? It was before I was a parent. I have a almost 3-year-old. Life was definitely very different before this wonderful little creature came into my life. So just take a snapshot and anchor before you come back. We all reconvene of 1 to 3 qualities that really contributed to this space of energy, this feeling of energy, this state of energy and thriving. And breathe in and out and open your eyes. And I invite everyone to go to the attendee chat and drop in a couple of components that fed into this sense of energized, ignited, in flow, and uplift. As you're thinking, I just want to acknowledge that a number of you in the chat said, yeah, that there was a loss of passion. There's a theme here around passion, right? Meaning making, contributing to something greater than ourselves. Yeah, Crystal, purpose. Value, felt valued, appreciated, valued. Lisa, freedom to create. Full complement of staff, validation. Absolutely. There's an element of good enough for government. There's an element of purpose, appreciated, freedom to come and go freely. There's, oh, these are so good. One key theme is around appreciation and value, and that is so important. We're going to talk about that a lot. And there's also a thread here around autonomy, right? Like I could come and go as I please. I can make my own decisions and whatnot. So keep these going. And I hope that as you see, there's a lot of that person has my story too. And so sometimes when we're stuck in this space, it can feel like, I'll speak for myself, I am the only one going through this, which can be further isolating when actually there are so many and there's so much that we can learn from each other. And that's why we're prepping so much chat and pulls into this experience today. Okay, so here's our exchange instrument. You're like, let's talk about it. For those of you that have worked with me before, you know that as time goes on, I somehow become more of a musical. I don't know why that is. Maybe my dad used to sing to me every day when I grew up. So I might start singing some of these things. You never know. I can't be held accountable for my melodic acumen or not. So just heads up. So these are the anecdotes. Lack of well-being, self-care. And we're going to focus on our basic needs. Basic, not getting complicated here. Lack of meaning, right? Meaning making, interpretations, we're contributing to something greater. So the anecdote is empowerment. So those of you that shared back in that past experience around autonomy, around agency, around appreciation, this is the jam right here. And then a lack of psychological safety, which is really complicated, by the way. There's probably, a 3-part series on psychological safety that is a day long each. And we're going to just approach it through the lens of being a supervisor and what role can you take specifically with your team to create a sense of psychological safety. And that is around your own vulnerability, modeling vulnerability, which is like, the big leagues, by the way. It takes a lot. So first things first, well-being. So when I say first things first, I really mean first things first. Rewind, remember that poll about those questions that were being asked around burnout. So, for example, if you're hungry, eat. If you're lonely, reach out. If you're anxious, engage your physical senses. You got to release that anxious energy. So that could be, for some people, they're spiritual. It could be praying. It could be meditating. It could be going on a walk. It could be going to the bathroom. It could be drinking some water. Something that is a physical intervention in the anxiety, the ruminating. And if you're angry, really find a safe outlet. Okay, so maybe you're calling a friend, maybe you're stomping your feet, right? Maybe you are going in a different room and you're like, so healthy release. Hungry, eat. Lonely, reach out. Anxious, engage your physical senses. And tired, sleep. Oh my gosh, that's what I meant to talk about. If you're tired, sleep, which I know is easier said than done, is somebody who has, like, I am not like one of those people that can just start napping like my partner and no, I'm not one of those people. So ask yourself on a 1 to 5 scale, assess, and then we'll do some strategizing. Where are you with your basic needs being met first? So 1 is very unmet, 5 is totally met. You're like, dude, I am getting 8 hours of sleep. I am eating all 3 meals and energized, all my B vitamins and D vitamins. I have a network of support, all of those things. So there's a poll that should be opened. Results are starting to come in. Where are you today?
You were saying about having a good outlet for anger. And for a while,
Mm-hmm.
I was angry about a loss in my life, and I kept a
Mm.
box of packing peanuts under my desk at work. And when I was angry, I would kick it. It was very
That's
silly.
awesome, Lauren. Thank you for offering that. Yeah, I had, it was in 2020, and my dad almost died. It wasn't COVID, but it was, this was pre-vaccine, all of this stuff, and he was in the hospital and we couldn't go. And I realized I was going through a lot of the grieving process, and I was connected with this anger I had never had, right? And then finding ways to release that. And for me, I'm a very kinesthetic person, and so it ended up being, going on runs, right, to like release, and I would cry or be like, you know, um, and that was the way that I needed to let it out. And more, especially as people are going through different cycles of grief around a lot of things. There's a lot of collective trauma, a lot of right happening in the world right now because of a confluence of factors. And so that is very much part of the process. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing that. So let's broadcast these results, and you'll see that many folks, the majority of folks, say that you're in the middle, right? So there's neutrality. You're not thriving, and you're not necessarily you're not surviving, right? Almost 5% of you are really in the struggling period phase, and then a representation is doing well, and 31% of you feel like your needs are being met, which is wonderful, because the foundation for all of this is our own needs being met. So ask yourself, what's one specific action that you can take for yourself to boost your well-being this week? And then think about, how will you model this to your team? So here's some examples. I'm working with a PMF, and she actually realized that she was getting really anxious and impatient because she wasn't eating. She was like not stepping away and eating. So every Sunday she does meal prep. That's one specific action that she can take that's specific, measurable, and meaningful. Another person that I work with, who's an SES, has on their calendar, which everyone can see, it says literally eat your lunch. And that is more meaningful, and his staff can see it, and it kind of brings a little levity, and they don't bother him because they know, oh my God, the fact that he wrote literally eat my lunch means that he's going to do that. Another person instituted a 15% challenge where they're taking 15% of meetings off of the virtual meeting box and converting them to old school phone calls or walking meetings with their team members for one-on-ones. Get away from screen time, move the body, rest the eyes, all of that. Another is taking 5 to 15 minutes of retreat time at the end of the day or anywhere within the day where you just step away and you give yourself the ability to just disconnect. I remember in my very first wellness in the workplace with NextGen 7 years ago, one of them was disconnect. And we were talking about, like, go to the bathroom and don't take your phone, because we know we have all done that, and just leave it there, and that can be your 5 minutes. Even if you're not doing anything in there, just you're stepping away. So what's that thing? And then how can you model that to your team? By sharing with them what it is, by giving it voice, you're naming it and demonstrating it's a priority and giving them permission to do the same. So if you opt for the 15% challenge, or maybe it's 10%, taking your meetings off of the virtual space and turning them into phone calls or walking meetings, say, everyone, let's do that. Let's all look at our calendars and decide which ones are we all collectively converting. So as inspired, please drop it in the chat in terms of one one action that you will do to boost your well-being, getting from a N plus to +1. Yeah, awesome. So next we have, I need to take time out to distress for my 15 minutes to recharge. Yeah, totally, absolutely. Yolanda, thank you for offering that. And it is about intentionality with time. And Angela, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people talking right now about what can I delegate off? What is the non-essential? Or what I say is like WTF, what's the fundamental? And anything that's not on that list, how can it be delegated to create more space for myself? Yes, massages. Yes, 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 Lisa, so good. Sweeping the house, very cathartic. Love that. And with the walking meetings, just a little neuro hack. Studies show out of Stanford that when people go on walking meetings or they're doing aerobic, like somewhat aerobic activity, it can, for 20 minutes, it can generate more idea flexibility, meaning you're more open to new ideas, idea generation. You come up with more ideas, up to 60%. Now, that's not for everyone, and that's a striking statistic, is it not, in terms of the power of movement? So number 2, meaning making, and this is really about empowering with growth and appreciation. So for those of you that, and Crystal, 15 minutes might not be enough, but it's about starting and building. So for those of you, for example, that maybe want to start a meditation practice, don't start with 20 minutes. I mean, go. I love the enthusiasm, and position yourself for success, start and then build over time. So 15 minutes might for some people feel insurmountable. You will notice a difference after 3 to 5 minutes, because that's when, if you're having stress hormones, it can take, at least from a starting point, for a ruminating thought to pass through, or at least some of that stress to start discharging. So for those of you that talked about appreciation from your past experience, this is the jam. So here's our next poll.
How do you generate meaning within your team? Check all that apply. Offer challenge and variety. See significance of your contributions. Do you give them autonomy to do their work? Set clear performance expectations. Do you match their skills and level of confidence with their role and work? Do you create opportunities for growth and development? Do you acknowledge them with rewards and appreciation? Do you create collaboration and support among team members? Feedback. And again, you can check all of them that apply to you.
Yeah, so this is also, everyone, an ingredients list, right? In terms of helping generate meaning within your team. So asking yourself, that's what this is how am I doing this to generate power, empowerment within my team? And obviously, there's an element of situational leadership for people based on the task and their confidence and their competency and all that kind of stuff, right? In terms of the autonomy piece and whatnot. There is an artistry here, as well as a science of saying, okay, where can I have really significant impact to uplift all? And appreciation and creating opportunities for shared collective collaborative space can be so energy producing for people. And so how can you utilize the existing structures and frameworks to incorporate these wonderful, juicy moments to support other people's power? Okay, let me see. We'll give folks the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go to the results of where folks are. So this is so great. Hooray, right? So with your teams, a lot of you, 70%, creating collaboration and support amongst your teams. Well, bravo to you. And I'd be curious, maybe drop in chat what your favorite tactic or most successful tactic has been. Let's share the good stuff in the chat. I know that we don't like save the chat and send it to you. So I encourage everyone to copy the chat on your own time, like copy and paste, just so you can gather all the different tools and insights that people have that they're sharing. Acknowledging rewards and appreciation. This is such the best one. There's so many fun ways to do this. There was a team, they had relay appreciation, and so they got a trophy, and they had a different, at every staff meeting, they had somebody put like a sticker or a little, tchotchke on it that represented the thing that they appreciated about the other person. So like an example would be they put a little apple, like a little apple sticker, and said, hey, Lauren, I really appreciate you. I put an apple here, kind of like a teacher, giving your teacher an apple, just in terms of helping walk me through the ropes, being new, or helping me understand this new tool or technology introduced to the team. And just the patience that you offered and the space for me to ask questions. I really appreciate you. And then giving it to that person, and then they're on for the next week. Obviously, in the virtual environment, if you're in a hybrid team or you're remote or teleworking, whatnot, you don't have a physical trophy, but you can absolutely use Mural or some of these other wonderful collaborative online tools to create a collage and have some fun with it. Others do relay, right? Like they'll say, I appreciate Lauren. And Lauren will say in the same meeting, I appreciate Blake. And Blake will say, I appreciate Emily, who's on leave, and, for teeing us up so well with all of this and whatnot. Clear performance expectations, absolutely. It helps in terms of generating meaning when we know where the heck we're going. Oh my gosh. Directly tying and sportscasting how every team member's specific actions is feeding into and supporting the bigger mission. That contributes to a lot of burnout for folks, is when they feel like they're needlessly doing tasks and they don't see how it connects to something. They're like, that leads to the cynicism. Why am I even doing this? Like, how is it making a difference? Autonomy, we talked about, yes. And this is dynamic delegation, right? Assessing what people's competence are, how driven and motivated, confident they are, and then stepping back more from a telling or directing space to a delegating or coaching space. Regular feedback, amplifying what's going well, so that can be done more of. And then challenge and variety. So that's where getting more scrupulous with your teams and developing personal improvement plans, or not personal improvement plans, development plans. I know that we're approaching the end of the fiscal year, and so it's definitely self-assessment time, at least for our agency. So how can that be utilized to get people to think about what they want, what they aspire toward, and then the path to create that? Awesome. Amanda, you get a gold star for sure about that with delegation. So building on where you are now, maybe this is a tool you're doing right now and you'd like to do a little more of, or something you want to take on the road, you want to experiment with, or like I say, rent. You don't need to buy it yet, just rent it out. How can you give your employees a greater sense of autonomy? What's one specific action? Maybe it's specific to your meeting structure. You rotate who's facilitating on a weekly basis. You create a social team, right? And it's volunteer based, and they get to create different social connections and moments of supporting one another over time, whether it's birthdays or virtual, I don't know, virtual bingo. I was about to say virtual bowling, but I don't know if that was, I'm sure there's a virtual bowling somewhere out there. The Wii seems to be out. Is that true? I mean, but that could be like a virtual bowling. In terms of the responsibility and the creativity is espoused to them, that also really feeds into the sense of connective tissue. So dropping some ideas in chat and sharing your brilliance and good stuff. Yeah, yes, Kim, fantastic. Virtual snacks for remote teams. That's one of the things people miss so much, right? Is the snacks. There was this. We were doing a role play with one group one time, and the topic was about, do we keep snacks or do we get rid of snacks? This was actually a real decision they were trying to make, because they were they were trying to figure out, like, GSAs, right, in terms of what to do with potentially no longer utilized space or as utilized space. And it started with snacks. I love my granola bar. We can't cut the budget for the granola bar, even if people are eating it. So I love this idea of a virtual snack and individual recognition. Oh my gosh, so much. And when you're recognizing, be specific, right? So kind of like with the recognition with Lauren, it was the what, the how, and the impact that it had on me. So good. Recognition is the best. So number 3 is psychological safety. And as I mentioned, psychological safety is when we feel safe to be fully ourselves without fear of retribution. And it's specific to sharing any errors, asking questions, being vulnerable, and where we feel that we're being treated fairly, inclusively, and equitably with others. So ask yourself these questions, and this is the fodder of our poll. If you've made a mistake, will it be held against you? Here, and I'll actually go to this so we can open the poll simultaneously. And so check where it's yes, where you feel yes. Are your team members able to bring up problems or big rocks? How about, do they sometimes reject others for being different? And this could be defined in a whole slew of ways. Could be different perspective, different opinion. It could be identity based. What's your read, your authentic read, genuine, honest read on that one? How about taking risks, trying something new, being innovative? We talk about innovation. All that is trying something new. And is it embraced? How about asking for help? And would people intentionally try to undermine others? And are people utilizing their unique skills and talents to serve the whole? So we'll give it a few more moments for folks to respond to this one. Oh my gosh, I'm just catching up on the chat. Rosemary, I want to be in your team. Mardi Gras luncheon. What would happen if costumes were part of everything? Okay, I've mentioned it before. I have my toddler's name is Keo. He's turning 3 in late October. And he is now in his development where imagination is alive. And I'm having so much fun playing dress up with this kid. We were the Tin Man yesterday because we're reading Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. One of my old, I kept my prom dress from like high school, put that on. I'm a petite person. I mean, anyway, it was too big for him, but that was hysterical. With Artemis happening, we like made these astronaut helmets, all this. It's so much fun. So what if you had like theme night, theme lunch? I love that, Rosemary. Everyone, what would your theme be? Take it to your team. Ask them, hey, if we're going to start implementing themes, what themes do you want? Ask them, engage them, get them to offer their insight and have some fun and play. Okay. So here's where we are. Let's see. So the big one where there's the greatest sense of psychological safety is able to bring up problems and rocks. And that's huge because if people are not sharing challenges and problems and keeping that from the shared knowledge pool, everyone is working with inaccurate data to a certain extent. And so it makes it really hard to the impact is that it compromises our decision making and ultimately the outcome for not only our teams but the American people, right? And then using teams' talents, that's in the 60% room for growth, right? So the question there for everyone is what is one unique talent that my team member has and how can it be applied in different ways? There's actually a study in the University of Pennsylvania that shows that when we utilize a strength one time in a distinct way, one time for 2 weeks, it increases our well-being, our happiness, our life satisfaction, our work satisfaction, all of that. So leveraging the strengths isn't just like the tactic du jour. There's real science backing it up. That's great to hear people aren't acting intentionally to undermine one another. Very reassuring. And same thing around rejection and whatnot. So the thing here, right, is this is an ongoing process. We are the unfinished. We're always going through in a process of continuous improvement. What's one specific action that you can take to further build psychological safety in your team? So there's been some offerings here. One tactic that several leaders do is they create a team charter. And so they have everyone asking and answering at the same time, what's our shared mission? What's our vision? What are our values? What do the values look like in behaviors? How do we engage in conflict? How do we communicate with one another? What are we willing to let go of to make this experience, this team, a success? And what excites me about the future? And then they go almost like through a design thinking exercise with Post-its or stickies. And you can do this virtually for sure. Cluster them, identify themes, and then translate that into a one-pager that they've all collectively co-created, and use that and measure themselves against that on a monthly basis. And then eventually maybe it's quarterly or biannually to ask, how are we doing in terms of our initial intent of how we're working together? Michelle, listening, absolutely. The power of listening is a leader power tool. I mean, full stop. It builds empathy. It's about truly seeing. So much of burnout too, people were sharing past experience. It was appreciation, is not feeling fully seen or heard or appreciated. And how different it is when we offer that space. At the very beginning, Lauren said 1 minute can feel like a long time. So even just giving a team member 5 minutes and how much of an impact that can have. When it comes to your own vulnerability, how are you modeling when you make a mistake? I always say, like, choose oh, shit, I messed up and it's going to be okay word. Mine's ta-da. Like when I make a mistake, I'm like, ta-da, this is a learning opportunity for me, and I name it, and then I can move on, and it lessens that hook, and it invites others that I'm working with to say, it's okay. Dude, we had our first OPM wide innovation summit, and there was just one slide that hadn't been updated from a previous version. And we realized in real time that it was the old slide. And it was actually great because we were talking about innovation. We're like, see, we're modeling vulnerability to everybody and making mistakes. And it's okay. This is what happened. And then we moved on, and everyone, it's just this exhale, right? It's like, yeah, we're human. So what does that look like for you? And then the bonus for everyone is have fun. And I know, let me say that when you are so burnt out, it's really hard to connect with fun. I have been there. I know this. September is also Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. It's National Recovery Month, right? And so if you're experiencing extreme stress and pain, please reach out. 988 is a national hotline, and then I know that each agency has lots of resources. And so if you're in a very challenging space, it's very hard to connect with fun. And if you see somebody who's also struggling, know the signs, reach out, and have resources available to engage. So with that said, fun, levity, offering some lightness, just like appreciation, can make things so much lighter. And so how are you going to infuse some fun? Is it dressing up for Mardi Gras? Is it virtual snacks? Is it creating a team playlist? Is it having everyone submit a random secret fun fact about themselves that nobody would guess, and then having a Guess Who trivia at the beginning of each team meeting? There's so many creative things. Delegate it. Have your social team create the fun and pepper it throughout the year. Yeah, Colleen, the power of laughter. Oh my goodness. I knew I was in trouble when I was struggling, when I wasn't laughing. My partner says that I'm fueled on laughter. And if I was, I was just like, ugh. When I have a lot of lines, right, from laughing usually. And so that's an indicator. So to bring it back to center, really in its most simplistic forms, to recap, battling burnout is about engaging. It's about engaging ourselves, engaging our teams, engaging others. So if you are finding yourself lacking in well-being, you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, right? Self-care, prioritizing those basic needs first, and taking one specific action to get more sleep, to help with your food, to reach out, to get enough hugs, to talk to a friend in a mutually beneficial way, to get that massage, to take 15 minutes of your own time to get away from the computer, all those wonderful things that people shared that they are doing that's working for them. The lack of meaning is about empowering through appreciation and growth, connecting actions to impact, delegating and giving people the autonomy and respect they need and deserve in that way. intentionally, of course. And then finally, a lack of psychological safety, being vulnerable. I feel like we should create like a bumper sticker or like a virtual background that says laughter is the best policy, right? Just looking at the chat, or LOL, or something like that. That would be silly. So just offering a moment now to reflect on key takeaways, maybe one thing that you're walking away more aware of today, a commitment to yourself. Just take a moment, breathing it in and out, and let's drop it in chat, sharing the good stuff. And thank you all for being so open and contributing to your own well-being here, as well as that of others, with a very vibrant chat. We'll give folks a few minutes in terms of a key takeaway. Michelle, laughter is the best policy. I hope that catches on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Heart times a zillion. And sportscast is basically when you're describing what's happening, like a sportscaster. Oh, they're rounding second. Oh, just bumped off the brim. Oh, strike one, right? I know I just mixed like 3 different sports into one. Just roll with me. And you can do the same thing with your team. It's like you just start laughing. Like, oh, I'm just noticing myself laughing. I encourage everyone to laugh if you need to. It's the way things are right now. Sometimes that's all it merits, right? And I get you. So awesome. Great. Oh, and thank you for the feedback, everyone. So we have a little bit of time remaining. If anyone has a question, please feel free to drop it in the chat or put it in the Q&A. Blake, come in and intervene with the appropriate directions in terms of where to populate any questions that have come in. And we'll allow the rest of the space for that. And definitely people stay on and copy and paste all the wonderful takeaways and ideas that are coming in chat. Walking away from the computer, self-care, absolutely. Starting meetings with icebreakers for sure. Rosemary, I'm happy that you see that you're not alone, and laughter helps, absolutely. So Blake, any questions that have come in? Give folks
I'm not seeing any questions, but there is just an overwhelming feeling within the attendee chat that perhaps there is an element of not taking ourselves too seriously and finding some grace, but also some levity in perhaps difficult moments. It really recalibrates perhaps how you might deal with that difficult moment amidst so many difficult moments, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm just smiling. I'm feeling a lot of warmth even over here through the elite studio technology, just feeling the exhale, right? The breath. And just the reminder of the permission to be light. And it doesn't devalue or diminish the magnitude of the moment. In contrast, it actually allows us to be of greater service and impact by allowing ourselves their fuel. And as a leader, how you show... Oh, yeah, sure.
There are a couple of good questions in the Q&A right now.
How will you handle, thank you, Lauren, for flagging that. How to handle when you don't feel psychologically safe and responsible to make your staff feel safe. Whew. Amanda, this is a really big one. Thank you for asking this question. Well, I would say first, the tenets, if you don't feel psychologically safe, the first piece is understanding how come. So even taking the list, and if I heard right, Lauren, the slides will be available to everyone in follow-up. So definitely toggle to that slide. And you can even Google it. Just Amy Edmondson is the queen of psychological safety. She's like the guru of psychological safety. Her Twitter handle is Amy Edmondson, EDMONDOT. And there's a lot of information there that she can offer. So the first piece is asking yourself those questions and see, so you can get really clear about what aspect of psychological safety you're not feeling safe about. And then from there, I think it's about finding a trusted ally to do a little peer coaching or coaching on what are some specific actions that you can take. And a good place to start in terms of your own inquiry is, what can I control? Oh, no, I'm sorry, is what do I know? What don't I know? And what do I need to know about the specific situation? And then look at what you need to know, and then what can I control? What can't I control? And creating a specific action that you can take from there. So there's a bit of discovery and honing to tease out what exactly, because I know it can be an overwhelming feeling, and there's this knowledge I'm not feeling safe. And if we're the more specific we can get, that then will translate into an action. And let's drop Amy Edmondson into the chat too, because she's a phenomenal resource in terms of additional information. So that's the strategy I would apply, Amanda. And also, let me also say that I'm really sorry to hear that you're feeling that way. Full stop. And you are not alone, and there's people and processes that can help support you change that. And then Jenny said, do you have any advice for how to stay strong when it's clear that my boss is burned out and sometimes projecting her struggles onto me when I'm also burned out? Well, Jenny, this is what I was about to say before, is how we show up is infectious, right? And so there's a direct correlation between how we show up and the energy of those around us. And so if the person that you're with is struggling, absolutely. And I would say in this instance, this is where really boosting your own self-care is going to be really important. And then creating what are some, not distancing, but almost like some people visualize, they do a body scan meditation of being covered with golden light as like a suit. And this might not work for everybody. So I just want to name that. For this person, it does. And the purpose of this is the purpose of it is to create a sense of physical distance. It's almost like a keto, right? You're taking somebody else's energy and you're deflecting it. So what can you do to prime yourself to deflect and protect your own reserves? It could be a meditation, right? It could be saying a mantra to yourself before going through that engagement. It could be doing a compassion meditation for that. I know this person is struggling. I have compassion. I know this is hard. I know this is hard. And the same thing, having compassion for yourself in those moments and saying, gosh, this is hard. This is hard. That actually can loosen a bit of the grip of feeling a bit hopeless or powerless over the acts of another. So thank you, Jenny, for your empathy and compassion in that question and offering it to the group.
Oh my goodness, I wish we could go all day. This has been wonderful. They were great questions and great answers. Unfortunately, though, it's time for us to wrap up the session. I want to thank you, Frida, for sharing all of this knowledge and compassion with us. That was great. There is a lot of food for thought here. Okay, and now I need to thank our 20 Partner Alliance for helping us put on today's summit. And I do have a few quick reminders before we log off. One is, don't forget to fill out your CPE evaluation to get your credit. Again, if you missed your chance to submit an answer, you can email it to us at nextgen@govloop.com, and you can still get credit. If you haven't done so already, head on over to the exhibit hall to check out our amazing booths. They're filled with additional information and resources. And then our closing session will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can access that session through the conference hall in the main environment. Thank you all again for being with us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the seminar. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.